mean that we're necessarily just going to come out and win games. Now, you see that with other teams too. With the Sixers, with the Phillies, we have different teams in Philly. We get new players, and it doesn't necessarily translate to winning right away. Another thing that I thought about is that Coach Lang he's willing to leverage his name and his experience to bring in talent, right? So you think about this as an athlete coming in and being recruited and looking at a school, right? This guy, he was an assistant coach in the NBA. That right there, for me, if I'm a basketball player and I'm looking at school, Division I school, that shines. And I'm like, wow. I mean, as an athlete myself, I was mesmerized by a coach who is an all-South Jersey coach of the year. This guy was an NBA assistant coach. So, there's a lot that he brings to the table as a coach and can kind of develop these players to go on into the NBA.
Jim, I got to add something, and I want to apologize to the viewers who are watching the show. I just hit live. So they've been waiting for 5 minutes.
Oh, no.
And you missed my entire monologue. Welcome to Tony's Takes. I'm afraid that they might have missed it. That's my mistake. This is our first time live on the radio, so please, have some mercy for us. We are talking about the Eric Reynolds signing to St. Joe's. I went on this whole monologue pretty much saying that Billy Lang, he's proven that he's a great recruiter. He truly is a good recruiter. I think the last 2 years of getting transfer guys to come in and getting Eric Reynolds to sign is a great thing for St. Joe's fans to be excited about. But as I said in the monologue that unfortunately you may not have heard as a viewer on YouTube, we need to see it happen on the court live. I can't see Billy Lang recruit great players and then it not transfer to the basketball court on a regular basis. And unfortunately, the worst part of it all is we just don't know where college basketball is going to be. I know John Rothstein has been tweeting out things of teams playing in the Maui bubble, i.e. Davidson, and they're just going to do the Maui Invitational in North Carolina, which I don't even know how that makes sense. But I still have hope that at least we'll see a little bit of this St. Joe's team and that the whole season won't get canceled, because if it does, we have to wait a whole year for these transfers to play with one another. We have to wait a whole year for new recruits to come in, and then we never get to see Ryan Daly play. So there's all these ifs with the coronavirus stuff, which is understandable, but I want to caution Hawks fans when we get excited about new recruits from St. Joe's, and yet we still haven't seen Billy Lang prove that he is the coach that can win games on the court outside of just getting transfers to come here, right? It's great if 4-star recruits start showing up, but if they don't like each other or can't get along in the locker room, what does that mean for us as St. Joe's fans? You can't expect them to win games if that's the case. There's just a lot that is unproven. I think we all know that as St. Joe's fans, and I think this is the time for Billy Lang to prove that he's more than just a recruiter. He's a well-rounded coach. He has the scheme. This pace and space offense makes sense for everyone. From a scheme standpoint, it's something that will be a winning formula. So as we talk about St. Joe's, as we think about St. Joe's basketball, there are a lot of variables up in the air. But if there's anything I do trust, it's this. It's the fact that Billy Lang comes with a lot of heart every game. I don't know if you've ever watched him, Jim, but if you've ever seen him play, or coach more is like it, he is running up and down his allowable space on the coach's bench. He is slapping the clipboard. He is yelling at guys. And it was just such a different attitude from the Phil Martelli years of Phil standing there with his arms crossed and not doing anything. Phil got great recruits to come here. There's no doubt about that. He was a great recruiter. But he never had that energy on the side of the court, and that's what Billy Lang has. Billy Lang brings so much energy, so much commitment, and that I can trust him, even though he hasn't proven everything. I can trust that he cares at the minimum. He cares.
Yeah, you can definitely tell when you watch these games, and I'm guessing you prefer the running down the side rather than the walk/waddle.
Yeah,
down
he used to just saunter all the way down,
scantily, just crawling his way down.
But yeah, that's how I felt about him. And it was, Billy Lang, once again, I couldn't sing his praises anymore. And this Eric Reynolds kid, I mean, viewers out there, Eric Reynolds, he has the guard skills that, he's listed at a shooting guard. His shooting form looks pretty good. I recommend that you go out and watch some of the videos of him shooting a basketball. It's always good just to see the mechanics and everything. This kid looks really exciting. He looks like he has good court vision, which is something that in Billy Lang's offense really well needed. You can't just throw the ball around and, throw it out of bounds. That's what I liked about like rookies or freshmen. I don't know why I used the word rookies. Why I like the freshmen like Ramir Moore. That guy took care of the ball. He was trusted with the ball many times throughout games against good teams in the Atlantic 10. So I really do think that a guy with a good sense of ball handling and a good sense of court vision is really well needed on this team. And he's just a really exciting player. Everyone in Philadelphia media who writes about St. Joe's basketball has written about this guy, and there's a reason why.
Yeah, and one of the cool things that you see on the recruiting aspect is once you get a 4-star player like this or just a big recruit to any sport, other players around that level that know of this guy are going to turn their head and say, whoa, maybe I should look at St. Joe's one more time. Maybe I should think about this culture that they're building over there. And that's another thing. You could see this turn away from a losing culture at St. Joe's from last year, and it could just start blossoming with a pipeline of talent. And then with if the season is missed this year, you can get this offseason of continuing to build this culture and new recruits and team bonding over the year, because they're not going to miss practice time. They're going to get together still. It doesn't matter whether COVID's going on. You know that even if they're not having official practices, these players are going to get together and work out together.
Yeah, no, totally agree. There is a bright side to even us not playing, right? And you just said it. I totally couldn't agree more with that. And if you're listening to Tony's Takes right here on YouTube, feel free to put your take in the chat. We'll read it out loud on the show and give us your thoughts as the show goes on. Whole reason why we're live is so we can interact with the fans of Tony's Takes. So if you're listening to us on YouTube, like the video first, leave a comment, and make sure to subscribe. If you're listening to Tony's Takes, you're listening to one of the great podcasts in basketball, I would say at least. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Really appreciate it from both Jim and I. Jim, this was something that I had thought about when we were brainstorming today's show, and it's something that I had heard from other fans of St. Joe's basketball. Some are afraid that Billy Lang may leave, which I couldn't understand the logic to where or who would take him at this stage of his career. Now, I would be scared if he left, if he got 2 years of good recruits, a 500 season, and then all of a sudden we're in the NCAA tournament. Then I'm worried, because a turnover in 2 years like that gets attention from a lot of bigger schools, especially like Big East schools. They look at, A10, which is a very strong conference. See a guy who turns a program around in 3 years with transfers and recruits. That's when you start to get worried of guys trying to poach Lang from our school. Yeah.
Do you think this concern comes from kind of his background, like I was talking about earlier?
Like how he's a journeyman a little bit?
Yeah, he's an NBA. He's worked in the NBA. He's friends with Jay Wright. I mean, I believe he was the assistant coach for a while with Jay Wright. So, is that where this concern comes from?
I could totally see that being one of the main reasons why I'm hearing this. He naturally has that journeyman attitude. But the thing is, he was only journeying around the Philadelphia area. It's not like he went to the West Coast. He was in Annapolis, which is the Naval Academy. He was at Villanova. He was at Villanova for a little bit. He was at the Philadelphia 76ers. He really hasn't gone that far. So maybe someone local poaches. Maybe I'd be scared if Villanova saw Jay Wright leave, but we know he's not going to the 76ers. And I really don't think Villanova would take a risk on a guy like Billy Lang, who's a little, he's still unproven in some sense as a head coach. And there's no good Temple. It may be Temple, but really, unless it's a New York or a Philly school, maybe DC school, I really don't see too much competition as of right now. Maybe come in 3 years, we'll be worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Temple would be willing to give up Aaron McKie already, but you never know. I mean, I'm hoping that they give him 3 to 5 years. And I'm hoping that he stays for 3 to 5 years at least. I mean, I want to see this team grow and get better. So, I mean, I would be shocked to see him leave.
Yeah. Let's switch topics. I think we've talked enough about Billy Lang. It's been 17 minutes talking Billy Lang here on Tony's Takes. Let's go to the NBA, Jim. Let's go to Ja Morant. Breaking news, named Rookie of the Year for the NBA this season. Not really too surprised about it. Zion Williamson had a lot of injury issues, and there wasn't much competition outside of Zion for Rookie of the Year. So, is there any surprise on that from you?
No real surprise. I just posed this question for you. Regular season, Zion plays,
More
as
games.
much as he can. What do you think?
I'm thinking more games, more opportunity for Zion to win. But the thing is, the season only ended 2 weeks short, 3 weeks short, maybe. I don't know if that was going to be enough time for Zion to win it. Ja Morant, I mean, he was playing really well, almost put his team in the playoffs. So, it came down to the play-in game right against Portland. So, I don't see any other way of Zion winning it, honestly, unless there was no injury. No injury, Zion's a better player. I don't think anyone could doubt that. But the fact that, the best ability is availability. We've always, here on Tony's Takes, we've always agreed on that fact. So, congrats to Ja Morant. I think it was a really good thing for him. He definitely earned it, and wish him all the best luck. He's a really exciting player to watch.
Something to note about both of those players is that they're both extremely skilled, but they both have flair to their play. So they're just like, it's very entertaining to watch them both play, whether separately or against each other. It's a good thing for the league to go on.
To have fresh blood in the, you see all these great guys retiring. You'd like to see new talent come in, and our wave was Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, and now it's Ja Morant and Zion Williamson. And speaking of Joel Embiid and Ja Morant, I think it's time that we talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. Jim, you've called into the show a couple times about this, and I just want to make sure that I've got this right. You're feeling a little despair as a 76ers fan.
Yeah, it really hurts to see the way that they went out. 4-0, just being shut out in the playoffs. I'm really hurting right now. I'm still a little hurting about Brett Brown. I know it needed to go. I know he needed to.
It was time for change.
Team. But you still kind of liked him a little bit, just as a person. Well,
Jim, what happens if I told you this? They fire Brett Brown, but they're willing to build a new stadium. I don't know if you saw this. I don't know if any of the viewers had seen this, but the Philadelphia 76ers want to build a new stadium. And I'm reading this courtesy of CBS Philly, CBS 3.
Oh, no.
Here we go. You want me to read it out loud? I'm going to read the article. CBS 3 is learning new details on the 76ers plan to build their very own arena along Penn's Landing. For those who don't know where Penn's Landing is, it is right on the river near all those little old-timey boats, the sailboats.
That's horrible.
Right there. Sources tell Eyewitness News the targeted location would be along the river between Market and Chestnut Streets. That's the land that's occupied right now by the Blue Cross River Rink. If you've ever taken your loved one to go ice skating, that's where the new stadium's going to be. The Sixers say, along with the state-of-the-art arena and thousands of new jobs, they always got to put jobs in, the team would also commit to revitalizing the area by building a new school and a museum. The plan has been submitted to city officials. The Sixers lease the Wells Fargo Center. Their lease isn't up till 2031, so the process may take a while. It's been the team's home court since they opened the building in 1996. They say some people are excited about it, other people aren't. They're quotes that by people I really don't care about. Some lady from the the city council, she went on to tweet. It's they pretty much just go on public dollars, build some school, and then you wouldn't care about it. I don't even know this lady's name. We're getting too much into the politics of Philadelphia at this point. What do you think of that? They're going to build a new stadium at least. No Broad Street parade, but they'll build a stadium for you.
I think that this is just the Sixers up to something. I don't think that this is real. I think that, I don't even think it'll work. Where are people going to park? Will you just have to walk to the game now? How could there possibly be enough parking there in that space?
I don't know if there's going to be enough parking, honestly. I've been down there. I parked, fun story, I parked down there once. And I got a ticket because the parking meter didn't work. And I chased down the meter maid, and I actually got his badge number, and I fought the city, and I won. So for the little men out there, the little guy, feel like you're being trampled down by the government, you can win those battles for parking tickets. And I wasn't going to let a boot get on my car so I could show up on that parking meters war show that they used to film in Philadelphia, for those who did not know that was a thing.
Just got to show some Billy Lang persistence, and you can win.
Yeah, honestly. But so let's go to that stadium topic. I don't want to stray too far with my great stories, but you're right. There's no parking down there.
Yeah, and then
If you're a fan out there, and I'm sorry, Jim, I don't mean to interrupt.
No,
If you're
no
a fan watching the show and you're on the live chat, would you drive to Penn's Landing? Would you even try to park around there? Good luck on Chestnut Street, Jim.
yeah, I don't think that it's going to be feasible. One, you're going to put a school, you're going to put a stadium. There's no way that there's going to be enough space for any of this stuff. So I think what they're doing is the Sixers are just trying to get a better deal on their lease or something for Wells Fargo Center.
It's a negotiation thing.
I think it's a negotiation tactic all the way. There's no way that they're going to pull this off.
Interesting. I kind of agree with that a little bit. I could see being a negotiation thing. I mean, there's so much you can do parking down there. And the school thing, I think they're just saying they spend money on a school. I don't think it means they're going to actually build a school in the stadium and teach them how to play basketball. Teach the kids how to play basketball. And anyway, can the government even accept money from the 76ers organization? I guess it'd be like a private donation or something. But if it's a government school, they don't accept money like that.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, that's my thing. I'm just looking at this from a logistics standpoint. They can throw all that nice stuff out there, but I just don't. Like, I don't know what it actually means.
Isn't that it right there? Like, isn't that the nice stuff that's trying to tug at the heartstrings of the people around the city to say, oh, this is a great idea. This is a great idea.
It's great.
And then it's not going to happen because it's just been politicized and negotiated.
And then the city pays the money for it. You know, they get these big tax breaks. So it's either get a good deal, you know, it doesn't hurt for them to negotiate like that. If the 76ers were actually really interested in moving the stadium, you know where they go, Jim? Let me tell you where they go. You know where I'm thinking? Come to Jersey.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking Camden.
You come to Jersey. More parking, more room to expand. A town that would probably more than likely welcome them. Easier to get to Jersey. It's easier to come from Philly and go to Jersey than it is to go from Jersey into Philly. And I guarantee you a lot of the people who watch 76ers games are coming from Jersey. I would say at least a third of the tri-state area goes from Philly.
And I have to call out the Sixers, corporate office for just 1 second. Harris Blitzer Sports. If you're gonna set up camp in Camden, you got to start hiring some people from around the area. Like, show the people that you care. And you know what? I'm getting sick and tired of hearing people saying that they applied for the Sixers for a low-level entry job and they didn't get in. And just show the local areas some support.
Bringing it back to the little guy. You fight your parking tickets and you get a job at the 76ers.
Because I know the Sixers are listening right now.
Yeah, they definitely are. Jim, speaking of the 76ers, let's keep it on there. Jay Wright was ruled out of the running for the 76ers head coach position. And you told me that Tyronn Lue is moving up the ranks. Can you confirm any of that?
Yeah. There's numerous reports. I believe John Johnson from 94.1 WIP broke the story maybe this morning. It looks like Ty Lue is closing in on a deal, or there's very intense talks about the Sixers and Ty Lue coming to some sort of deal for a head coach position.
I don't know how I feel about that. I think that Tyronn Lue's history at the Cavs was underwhelming. I think that I expected a lot more from him in a winning stance. I think he's a good player, or was a good player. I respect him. I just was underwhelmed. And I don't know if I want my 76ers to be coached by him based on his performance with the Cavaliers. Some might say, hey, he still won a championship. I hear that. I understand that beggars can't be choosers. It's a championship winning coach. We didn't have one of those. But LeBron James was on that team. And this, maybe he proves us wrong like Eric Spoelstra did. Eric Spoelstra, they said, we knew that he was a great coach before LeBron James. LeBron James came. They won their things. He left. And Eric Spoelstra kept that team above 500 or around 500 until their current state where they're upsetting the Bucks. And I have no doubt it's because Eric Spoelstra is just a really good coach.
Yeah, and also he does have Pat Riley whispering in his ear, so I don't think that hurts.
That does not hurt, right? Pat Riley's one of the greats. So Tyronn Lue, maybe he does, but I don't know if I'm willing to risk it that much. And Jim, you've heard my take on this. If I was going to pick one person to be the coach of the 76ers, it could be anyone. They have to be alive and they have to be in a certain age range because you're not going to hire someone who's 90 to coach the team. That's just not reasonable. I would go after Kevin McHale. I liked what Kevin McHale did for the Houston Rockets a couple of years ago. I think he is a good coach. He's proven that he can win games like that. And he's just not interested in it, I think. But he's a great center that would pair really nicely with Joel Embiid. Don't you think?
Yeah, I do think so. There's other reports, too. We're looking at Jason Kidd has been in the talks, and I think he would be a good fit. I just want to say real quick that Jay Wright not being on the list kind of bothers me because I said this before, it would help out the Hawks if Jay Wright.
Yeah, look at you thinking it's like 4D chess.
Yeah.
Right? You're thinking of another team that you're a fan of to get that in, but you're right, that is true. We wouldn't have to deal with Jay Wright, who is literally the reason why Villanova is so good.
Yeah, and then you can get a winning mentality in the Sixers because we don't have a winning mentality right now.
No, it's deflated. I was very hesitant, though, Jim. I told you this, and to the viewers, I'm telling you this now. I don't know if I want a college coach being the coach of this team. I think these guys are too mature. They're too old into their their time, and that a college guy coming in who doesn't have any experience in the NBA is just a little. I don't know how I feel about that. I have a lot of questions around chemistry in the locker room for a team that has clearly chemistry issues.
Yeah, I understand that. And here, let me make the case for Ty Lue. All right, so he's a guy that he wants to work with younger guys. Right, he spent the last part of his career with older players, and he didn't like it. He wanted this young, fresh talent that we have, right? And we want to win. We want to win. We're just not doing it. And he has experienced winning the ultimate goal, right? So he could bring that to our team, and that could also be very beneficial to our players. So I think that there is a case for him. It's not my favorite. He's not my pick overall, that's for sure. But there is a case for him.
We have a comment in the section. We have a comment that says 10-hit rule about to be broken. Jimmy, when Hayes scores, we win. Do you know what that means? That's clearly to you, not to me.
Yeah, sure. That's there's this theory that's going around, a very small group that the first team to get to 10 hits always wins.
Well,
So,
I think, is he referencing the Phillies right now?
I think he is. So I think the Nationals might have reached 10 hits before the Phillies. So if the Phillies score, we win, and then that breaks the 10-hit rule.
The teams are both at 10.
Okay.
Very interesting.
So I'm assuming that the Nationals hit 10 hits before we did. But every single game that I've watched since I've heard this theory, the first team to hit 10 hits wins the game.
I've watched games where you don't even get to 10.
Yeah, well, obviously they're excluded from the theory. Yes.
Well, thanks for the comment. We read all comments on the show. Keep commenting if you're liking what you're hearing. Jim, let's go towards. I want to play some of the clips I got, some of the drops, and we're gonna play clip 1, which is Chris Broussard of First Things First and Fox Sports talking about how the Bucks they might be done. And this is Chris Broussard, Fox Sports.
Absolutely horrible calls. Absolutely horrible.
Correct.
Giannis touched Jimmy on the chest a little bit after the shot, but there's no way you call that at the end of the game. But you know what? I can't even feel sorry for the Bucks because the call before it was worse. So
Exactly
the game shouldn't
right.
have even been
It
tied.
evened out.
Absolutely perfect defense from Goran Dragic. So I don't feel sorry for the Bucks one bit. But you don't panic because then you're really done. And we've seen teams come back from 0-2. We saw it last year, Toronto doing it against this Milwaukee Bucks team. We just saw Denver rally from down 3-1.
Yep.
So it's possible, but I got to be honest, the Bucks, I think, are done.
Jim, are the Bucks done? Sorry, I cut that off at the end a little early. Are the Bucks done?
If you watched that game yesterday and you saw Giannis when the time was done, the Bucks are done. They're cooked.
Their goose is cooked, he says. They might be. They might be. And it's really a shame, because I want Giannis to do well. I want him to play well. I want him to win. I don't want to see him fall apart, pretty much. And I think the coaching situation is just not working then. If this is what's happening with the greatest the greatest player in basketball right now or the best player in basketball right now. And yes, I do think he is the best player in basketball. He scored 28 last night. He didn't play bad. It's not like the Bucks lost because he didn't score 30 points. He did what he needed to do and got called on a ticky-tack foul, right?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I'm an anti-Giannis guy, so I'm not a big fan. I'm living in this, actually, because once the Sixers were done, I became a Heat rider. So one of the things I did notice is, as Sixers fans,
Yeah.
we know when that losing head down feeling is coming, and that's just exactly what the Bucks are exhibiting. So yeah, you're on the right track with that with the coach. I think that this is there's just pure signs of Philadelphia all over the Bucks team right now, and I just think that that's going to happen.
I maybe there's a trade in the works. These seem like two teams that could need a little rework of the roster.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be bad. I think I would really like that because I could pick and choose players I need, and I need a point guard. And I need a point guard like Chris Paul, who we had a chance to get as 76ers fans, or at least had a chance to throw our hats in the ring at something for him, because he clearly turned out to be a better player than Al Horford, an older player, but he's better than Al Horford, that's for sure. With the Bucks struggling like this, I don't know what the Eastern Conference is going to look like next year. We know Giannis is at a potential to leave. His contract's coming up soon. It is not a guarantee for the city of Milwaukee to have Giannis for the next 7 years. They need to win now, and you can just tell that the roster they've put together, well, it's subpar a little bit in some ways. In some ways, in playoff basketball, you need more guys like Jimmy Butler than you need like Chris Middleton. Because Chris Middleton can't hit a shot for his life.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm 100% with you on that. Jimmy Butler was the player that we needed. I'm saying that right now.
We're going there.
We're going there.
Okay.
Because of his playoff play, man. He brings the intangibles, and I'm afraid that the Bucks don't do that. I'm afraid that they don't have the intangibles. And I'm afraid that Giannis doesn't have that. I'm afraid that he doesn't make the team around him better. And that's what Jimmy Butler, in my opinion, does.
So you think that the 76ers made a mistake?
Yeah, I think they were definitely wrong to let him go. Do you?
No, I don't. The reason why I don't think it was wrong to let him go is the very fact that he was going to cost too much money in the long run. What I view as the issue going forward is the Horford deal. We didn't need to spend that money. The team would have been better if we used that money for 3 good rotation players rather than the entire budget going towards Al Horford. It's one thing if Jimmy leaves, okay, understand. He picked a different road. We didn't want to commit that kind of money. I'm fine with being prudent in that form. But I can't see the money go to Al Horford and then it not come through with anything. Robert Covington played excellent against the Rockets against the Thunder. We traded that away for Jimmy Butler for him to walk. And look, it was worth the risk, but then maybe you keep Jimmy Butler because you spent a good player who we kind of need 2 years later, and we never won a championship in between. It was probably more prudent to hold on to him.
Yeah, and that's basically where my argument comes from, is that we talked about this last time. If we were willing to just cash in at that time, then you gotta stay cashed in. You can't be like half in, half out after that.
And then go, Al Horford's going to cover our butt.
Yeah, and he didn't. It's not, and I don't even want to blame it on the age thing, because I think Al Horford still has a lot left in him.
You just think it's a fit issue.
It was definitely a fit issue. Brett admitted that he had spacing issues throughout the entire season.
Well, anyone with 2 eyes could tell you that one.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that there was a lot of mistakes here, and they all just compounded on top of each other instead of just being separate incidents.
Yeah. I mean, look, this isn't a hill I'm going to die on. There's issues in this front office, and the way that we've mismanaged assets, it's clear that there's just issues. There's issues everywhere. And I said this in my monologue a couple of weeks ago, tone at the top. All our issues come down from the top. Heavy rotation in management. Massive turnover in the general manager position. Teams don't run like that when there's this environment of unease and no steady, solid foundation. This whole program has been all over the board, and we've paid the price for it as 76ers fans.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about beating Boston in the playoffs, because they're not going anywhere as far as I know, they're staying in the East, right? So
yeah, I don't think they're moving.
Yeah,
right?
So if you want to beat them in the playoffs in the future, you need a killer, and that's kind of where I lie. You need a killer, whether it's Butler or somebody else. Get somebody here that is going to stick a dagger in them when they're down. I want to see the Sixers dominate that team because the Celtics are going to be good for a while. I don't see them going away.
Nope, I don't see them going away anytime soon. Let's switch topics. Let's go to let's keep on the subject. Let's go to Rockets Thunder. I'm going to play this clip as well. Let's go. This is Chris Broussard talking Rockets Thunder.
The shocker is that Houston won with its defense. Now, I know they had been playing much better defense in the bubble, but they actually won a Game 7 playoff game against the team that had been the most clutch during the season with their defense. Now, some of this goes on OKC. All right, their execution was poor at the end of the game. That last play, why isn't Steven Adams your last resort going to the rim rather than coming to the three-point line? But the bottom line is I have to give Houston's defense credit. They locked them up. Chris Paul's lucky that the shot that Dort got blocked, Chris Paul's lucky that his ball pass wasn't stolen on the right wing before that. And they even were able to get this shot off. And I got to shout out James Harden. He was having yet another poor performance.
James Harden, I cut that off at the end in the recording. James Harden was having a poor performance, but he came up with the big block, is what Chris Broussard said, and everything in that statement is true. He did come up with a big-time block. The Thunder, I feel bad for Chris Paul. He really did bring this team back from the brink. He showed that maybe Billy Donovan is a good coach. Maybe it wasn't Billy Donovan for the reasons that the Thunder never worked. Maybe it was Russell Westbrook was the reason that these teams never worked. And so I was actually very pleased to see the Thunder give a fight like this. I was very pleased to see that Chris Paul still had it and was the better player the whole series compared to James Harden. And when I saw that, I go, there are some things of basketball that never change. Chris Paul has much better fundamental play than James Harden. James Harden's a great player. James Harden's fourth best player in the league right now. But in the playoffs, you can play good defense, but you can play good offense, but you got to do both. You can't just do one. James Harden, you're known for your offense. You can't say, I'm just going to play decent defense and that's it. And, that's not acceptable. And from Chris Paul's standpoint, he does both ends of the court really, really well. Jim, we actually have a caller on the line. We're going to go to a caller for the first time on Tony's Takes. And our caller today on the show, that's right, it's Angry Matt. Angry Matt, welcome to the first live episode of Tony's Takes in over a year. Can you hear me? Everything good on your end?
Loud and clear, Tone. How you doing?
Oh, I'm great. Jim and I in the studio are feeling great. It is I don't know, you still do the podcast for Fourth and Long. You know how it is. Once you were out of the studio, Radio 1851, it's hard to get the magic back sometimes.
Oh, dude, I would do anything to go back to that studio. I took for granted all the high-tech equipment that our wonderful St. Joe's University offered to us. I miss it. I wish my keys still worked there.
Yeah, the wonderful St. Joe's. So, what do you want to talk about, Angry Matt? What topics?
Tone, have some hot takes, but I wanted to go off what you were talking about. I know you're not a big Rockets guy, and they escaped at the end by the skin of their teeth. I am just pretty frustrated with James Harden and how not interested he was in the fourth quarter. It's one thing to shoot and miss and say you're not clutch. It's a whole different thing to not even take the shots, to not even feel the moment and attempt to bring your team past that first round. It was so frustrating to watch him pass every time down the court.
Wow, he was shrinking in the limelight. We all watched it live. And yeah, you're right. I did say that. I said, James Harden's known for his offense, right? I wouldn't feel so bad if he scored 60 points and the game still came down to one last shot and then it unfolded the way it did. James Harden had to block a shot after not playing well at all. You know, if he had just scored 20 points or 40, not even 20 points, I don't even know, just put some more effort on the offensive side, it wouldn't have to be such a close series for 7 games. You know, that puts a lot of wear and tear on bodies.
Yeah, and he's celebrating like, you know, it was the best play of the game, which it may have been, but it was an inch, and if that inch was not out of bounds, that foot, they probably would have given Chris Paul a timeout, the heads-up vet with a heads-up play. Yeah, Harden frustrated me. You know, you see Russell, he's jacking him up. They call him West Brick, but at least he's going for it.
Yeah,
at least
true.
he's going for it. At least he was trying to win the game for his team. I mean, you saw your boy Robert Covington, probably the most valuable player on offense in the fourth quarter, with 5 fouls. He was playing with 5 fouls, shooting threes. It was ridiculous. I can't believe they skated by.
How do you think I feel when Robert Covington, a guy we traded for Jimmy Butler, is out there making game-winning moves for the Rockets? You know, he scored 21 points for the listeners who don't know, and James Harden only scored 17 on 1 for 9 from 3. Angry Matt, call me crazy. I remember when you were going down to Wells Fargo with your James Harden beard on to cheer this guy on.
Yeah, he had a triple-double. It was like 42, 10, and 12. It was some crazy LeBron numbers. Harden took over that game. I remember like it was yesterday. It was your boy Saucy Castillo tried to check him. That was the tank days.
That's a name right there. And what else are you calling in for? You said you had a couple other things that you wanted to say outside of the Rockets.
Jimmy Butler.
I knew you were going there. Going there.
Tony, I have a delusional Sixer fan co-host in Fourth and Long that went on and said that the Sixers were better off without Jimmy Butler. I almost choked on my food when we were recording. I mean, this guy, Jimmy Butler, I don't care how not efficient he is. When the game is on the line, when you need a defensive stop, when you need a bucket, I like Jimmy Butler on my team. This guy does what it takes to win. And people say he's a bad teammate. He seems like a pretty good teammate right now with a young team. You got some veterans in that locker room that help. Iguodala, Bam, rising star. I'll tell you what. I think the Heat could gentlemen sweep the Bucks. I really do, or even sweep them. Yeah, because there's something off about the Bucks.
Yeah, we played that Chris Broussard clip from Fox Sports. And he's like, I'm really scared for this Bucks team. They're cooked. Their goose is cooked. And in the bubble, you can't just come back. There is no, we're going back to Milwaukee to play them. It's, we got to wake up in Orlando tomorrow and play these guys again. And they're in our heads.
Absolutely. And you can see, you know, the Heat are playing more with house money. And with a team that's got nothing to lose, you just never want to play against a team like that. The Bucks, number 1 seed, you know, they're saying Giannis is going to win the MVP. I'm still not sure about that. They're on their heels right now. And I also think, Tone, this is my hot take. I think there's been some conversations in the bubble. I mean, it's inevitable that players are going to talk. And I think there's some probably strong attraction for Giannis to go to a Toronto or a Miami team next year, maybe even the Golden State Warriors. I think he's halfway out the door in Milwaukee. I think that's affecting the team in the locker room right now.
I could totally see that. And I was talking on the show like 5 minutes ago saying, you know, this was your time to impress, and you only brought in Eric Bledsoe and Chris Middleton. That ain't impressive. And I understand it's hard to get guys to come to Milwaukee, but I mean, come on, you got to do something for this guy. He's the best player in basketball, next to LeBron and Kawhi Leonard. There's no one else I'd rather have than Giannis. He's younger than them. He's got this size that no one else has ever seen, and I can totally see him leaving now. And it's upsetting because I want a team like Milwaukee to keep a guy like that. You know, Milwaukee has a great basketball history, and they're a team that, you know, would change it up a little bit. Like, give the Golden State Warriors, let them lead. Like, I'm done with them. I want to see teams like Milwaukee.
If he goes to Golden State, I'm going to be done. I'm going to be so upset.
Yep.
Put me on some kind. I'm going to be crazy because Steph Curry. You know how I feel about, you know, the Splash Brothers and Draymond. Let's see what they can do on their own.
Yeah.
Without Durant, without Giannis, I can't even like envision. It'd be so frustrating, Tone. But you're right. I think it'd be great if Giannis stayed. But I did see, I can't pronounce his name, the GM of the Toronto Raptors. What is it, Urigi?
I forget. I can't believe Masai Ujiri.
Yeah. So I saw a little timeline in his relationship with Giannis, and it's pretty striking. You have this guy that he was planning on drafting, Giannis, who was not really too recruited out of Greece from the NBA. He wasn't a huge prospect. And he had him like number 1 on his board for the 27th pick. And then Milwaukee got like a late notice about this kid, Giannis, and they picked him with 15th overall. So Urigi was always going to take him. And I also read that he played a major factor in helping Giannis move and his family from Nigeria to Greece. Oh. So there's some strong ties.
These connections are way too strong for me.
I'm telling you, they're family friends. So you're going to tell me that Toronto does not appeal to Giannis? I mean, they're a team that had 50-plus wins without him and Kawhi. You put Giannis in, I could say it's an upgrade from Kawhi from last year. Just the way it fits.
Yeah, that's crazy. Angry Matt, really appreciate your call. Give us your NBA champion for this year. Who are you thinking? Are you sticking with the Heat?
No, the Heat are going to the finals. That's my pick for to come out of the East. But I'm gonna have to go with LeBron and AD just because.
Knew it.
I was high on the Rockets until I just watched James Harden quit in crunch time. I think it's good that they have a fresh start and they could give the Lakers a run for their money, but I don't know. AD is a matchup nightmare, and I think it's going to be LeBron in year 17 bringing him the chip.
I like to hear it. Angry Matt, thanks for joining Tony's Takes. Angry Matt, tell the
podcast.
Wait,
I have one question.
Yeah.
I have one question.
Yep.
Over under how many years, or who's out first? Steve Nash or Kyrie Irving in Brooklyn?
I love the Steve Nash pick. And I think Kyrie Irving's out before Steve Nash because I think Kevin Durant likes Nash. I don't know if you saw this, but at the Golden State Warriors, Steve Nash used to work with them. And that's how Durant knows him. And you know that Durant said, that's my guy, and it's an out-of-the-box pick. Irving's out before anyone.
Yeah, Irving likes to pound the rock, and it's gonna be interesting to see if Nash implements the D'Antoni 7 seconds or less philosophy, because I don't think it would work with Kyrie. Kyrie needs about 12 to 13 seconds to create his shot with his fancy handles and oohs and ahs.
He's never
I don't know
good.
if that's going to work.
He's never good just jumping into a shot. Like running, he would never do a good trailing three. That's not his thing.
Exactly. Unless he changes his game, which I think he can do it, it's going to be interesting to see Kyrie and Steve, if Steve brings the D'Antoni philosophy. So we'll see.
Yeah. Angry Matt, thanks for calling in, and check you out on the Fourth and Long podcast, right?
Yes, sir. Thanks for the plug, Tone.
Yep,
have a good night.
Anytime. That was Angry Matt, a long-time caller of the show, long-time fan of the show. He had some interesting things to say, don't you think, Jim? Which one stood out to you the most?
Yeah, of course the Jimmy Butler stuff sticks out the most to me.
Yeah, you like that.
I
saw
it.
you nod next to me.
I was loving it. And then I kind of disagree with his NBA pick for the championship.
The champion?
Yeah, I do think that
you both are big. First of all, because I know Angry Matt's still listening, Jimbo's also picking the Heat a little bit over here, too.
Yeah, I'm actually picking the Heat to take it all, but I don't even think the Lakers are going to be there. I'm actually thinking the Clippers will be at the finals.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Sorry, I'm drinking water. A little thirsty. No. I can totally see that happening. I think the Heat, man, they've got the rhythm. This could be one of those years where finally the 1 seed isn't playing the 1 seed in the NBA. Well, last year they didn't, but 2 and 1 versus each other. At least, what are the Heat? 3rd in the rankings or 4th in for the seeding before the playoffs began. This is finally a team coming up from the middle of the pack and playing great, kind of like the Nationals last year in baseball. Finally, we're getting a team that just comes up from the middle of the pack and plays really well and has great guys who can close, and the guys who are pretty decent play out of their minds and really get good basketball out on the court. And I really do equate it a little bit to the Nationals last year, because they were not favored by any means to beat the Astros or the Dodgers, and they weren't favorites like the Yankees were either. This is a kind of that. They got the good guys, they've got a great coach, and they're going to come up and they're going to win.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that I always come back to with Jimmy Butler is that he holds his guys accountable, and I think that's what
Ben Simmons didn't like.
Yeah, and I think that's what Brett Brown didn't like. I think that's kind of where that whole incident happened last year, was that maybe Jimmy was holding Brett accountable, and that's actually the issue. It wasn't about Jimmy getting the ball more or shooting the ball more. It's like, hey, come on, get your head out of your what, and come
and
coach
thank
us.
you for not cursing. This is a family
Yeah,
show.
no problem.
If you're listening to Tony's Takes right here, our first live episode on YouTube, make sure to go and subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit that notification bell. That way, when we go live every week, you'll be able to hear Tony's Takes live on the airwaves of YouTube. I'm in the studio with new co-host Jimmy D, like the sausage, and it's a good time to be back in the studio. Just took a call from Angry Matt, longtime listener, longtime caller of the show. Had some really interesting stuff. Let's go to the Steve Nash thing, right? So for those who don't know, Steve Nash was recently hired by the Nets. He was actually hired today. He was a pick that kind of shocked everyone, or not even kind of. He did shock everyone, which is fine. I like out-of-the-box thinking. This was a player that no one really knew was going to be interested in coaching. He worked at player development for the Warriors, which is, even more for him as a plus for an organization to hire him. He has the credentials. He's one of the greatest point guards of all time, probably the best player outside of Charles Barkley to never win an NBA championship. He has it all. He is that good. He's an all-time generation player. And in the last 20 years, there hasn't been a greater point guard than him outside of Chris Paul, maybe. And so that pick for Kyrie Irving, I was saying, sorry, Jim, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm just going to add this point one more time. I think he's a good match for Kyrie Irving, but does Kyrie Irving respond to him? That's the real question.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say that I think that, there's going to be a lot of free throws shot at practice. That's for sure. I mean, how many guys do you think are going to get close to that 88 to 90% free throw shooting for that?
Hopefully a lot. You know?
I think that the Nets.
They have a lot of skill players on the Nets.
I mean, you're going to see the Nets have a massive upswing. Definitely. I think this hire was excellent. I think it was totally fitting for them. And I mean, they've recruited the last couple of years, with Kyrie and Kevin Durant. So I think that
they have the market. They got the big time coach.
Bad news for the Sixers.
What do you mean?
As in, the Nets are going to be hard to beat.
Oh, I thought you meant that there was breaking news for the Sixers.
Oh, no.
I was gonna. My heart goes pitter patter when you go like that, Jim. No, that's not good news, right? This was the window for the 76ers. We're bringing it back to the 76ers, but can you blame me? This was the window for the 76ers to do something great, and now teams are coming up. Boston's coming up, shipping up to Boston, and the Brooklyn Nets. Now they're definitely not going away. They're not going to be 8 seeds next year. If Kevin Durant's healthy like they think he is, he was almost ready to play in the bubble. This team's not ready. The 76ers team is not ready to win a championship. I don't think they win one in the next 5 years. I don't think they win one in 5 years.
I'm not even. I'm not
totally
even
out
on
on
the
this
next
team.
decade, to be honest.
I'm out on this team. I'm a Phillies fan now, I think. Pull the bandwagon up for the Philadelphia Phillies. 2 weeks ago, me and Jim were saying that they had the worst outlook out of any team. Well, not really. Your brother and I disagreed a little bit on the emails, but we did talk about how the Phillies look like they were struggle bus. All of a sudden, now the Phillies, they're beating up on the Nets. Did they win today, Jim? Can you Google that for me?
We are live right now, bottom of the 10th, man on first and third, one out.
Oh, you're watching it right now? Or you're just on the box score?
Oh, no, I've got the live play-by-play going on right now.
If you want, you can turn it on the television behind us.
Well, we have a intentional walk of Gene Segura.
Interesting.
And,
don't read too much because I don't want to be hit with a copyright infringement for reading the game out loud.
Oh, okay, all right.
We're not. That's 94 WIP's job, not mine. But yeah, I mean, this 76ers team, they were the ones picked to win it all for Philadelphia. The Eagles kind of got lucky with their Super Bowl. I mean, they really did. There was luck. There was, I believe in this thing called Providence. There is a thing. Did they just win?
Breaking news: Phillies win. They break the 10-hit rule.
Oh, how'd they hit it? Home run?
It just says balls in play, run scored.
Yep, that's all I care about. Yep. Excellent. Phillies win. Let's go to the Phillies right now. Close out the show that way. Actually, sorry, Jim. I don't mean to switch on you. Before we go to the Phillies, I just want to hit one more topic before we change. Toronto and Boston, who they're playing right now, too, if you want to pull that score up for us. But you have in your notes, Boston's time is here. And, Toronto just doesn't have that same clutch without Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, they don't look the same this year. I mean, do you get that feeling that they have a sort of run left in them at all?
Not for a championship, but they have the makings of a team that goes to the second round, clearly. I actually favored Boston for the series. I think I had said that in the... Actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm lying to the listeners. I did pick Toronto, but I see why Boston is succeeding. I'm not surprised that it's happened. I still would have picked Toronto with the facts I knew, but am I blown away the fact that Boston, who has these really athletic wings, guys who play defense, and an excellent coach in Brad Stevens, are beating up on a team that doesn't have a superstar and relies on good team chemistry and also has a good coach? It's funny, these teams are kind of built the same way, but Boston has the good team chemistry like Toronto, but also has the better player personnel.
Yeah, and in my notes I got Jason Tatum is playing on a freak level right now, and I wanted to just mention back in an earlier pod at the beginning of the season, we thought Jason Tatum was at his peak already.
Oh, yeah, we didn't think he was going to grow.
And he's really kind of proven us wrong, and I'm surprised. And then on the other side of things, Pascal Siakam is not the player that everybody thought that he was going to be this season. At least not in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's shrunk a little bit. He can't be number one, right?
Yeah.
That's the issue. He can't be number one.
And I think that was always a pipe dream to see him become the star.
Right. He's great as number two. He'll win you a championship as number 2 or number 3. Same with Kyrie Irving, Kyle Lowry, right? He was an excellent 3. Turns out he wasn't a good 2. He's an excellent 3.
Yeah, and then another thing that I see with Toronto, I think Gasol has aged this year, he's just, since he's joined the Raptors, he hasn't played to the level that he was playing with the Grizzlies. Obviously,
right.
Surrounded by more talent, it's going to drop off a little bit, but I don't know. He looks older every year, and I think he looks more old every year, if that makes any sense to you.
No, I mean, that's typical basketball. People mature in their age, and that's what happens with them. There's nothing shameful about it. That's just time. Father time. Right, Jim?
Yeah, and I'm afraid that CP3 might have the same thing next year.
Probably will.
If the Sixers go after him, I just see a pure Bynum thing happening to us again if we decide to go after CP3 in the offseason.
I don't want to think about the 76ers anymore. Let's go to the Phillies.
Phillies.
Let's talk about the Phillies. This is Jim's number one sport, and there's no doubt that the Phillies are now again on a hot streak. ESPN had them ranked 13th in the power rankings with a 65% chance of making the playoffs. That was back on Monday or Tuesday. Their odds are probably increasing as the days go on, as they continue to stretch wins out. They beat the Braves. They beat the Braves up pretty much. They crushed the Braves. They only gave up one game to them, and fought back in the ninth inning to get to 8 and 10 points, which Arrieta gave up That was terrible. But now they're beating up on the Nationals, which is what you need to see. You need to see the Phillies beat up on the Nationals and the Marlins, right? Those are our tickets to the playoffs. And the more games they steal against the Braves, the more of the odds that we are going to be the wild card team.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, a couple weeks ago, they were 4.5 or 5 games back, and they were in 4th or 5th in the NL East. And all they've done is just win since then. They've rallied so hard. I'm pretty sure they've won 7 of their last 8, or maybe 8 of their last 9, and it's been really cool to see this red hot team come into the middle of the season and really hit their groove. So hopefully we could see them stay hot. I'm afraid one of the things that I'm worried about is that there's going to be a lull in the bats soon, and I really hope that we have great starting pitching like we've seen from Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola. I mean, they have been dominant.
Zach Wheeler he hasn't lost a game this year.
It's been incredible.
Great signing.
And you see Knowles go 8, I believe it was 8 innings the other night, and he was just rolling. It was the Cy Young area level Aaron Nola that
he was 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. And there's a case that we could have 2 guys that are in the running for the Cy Young this year, which is it's tremendous, and hopefully that's just infectious to the rest of the bullpen.
Right, and starting pitching wins games in the majors, right? That is the winning formula that the Nationals and the Astros and the Yankees all have. They have great pitchers, right? And that's how you win games in this league. And it's good to see that the starting pitching's worked. We don't even need extremely good relievers. I'm sorry, not relief hitting. We don't need extremely good relievers. We just need decent ones that will hold a 3-run lead. I'm not asking for them to come in down a run and help us win the game. I'm asking for them to hold on to a lead that our two great starting pitchers had. The organization made the moves they had to make. We are very glad as Phillies fans that they did that. And then on top of all of this, the improvements coming from Rhys Hoskins, who's finally swinging the bat. He is the main reason why I'm so excited about this team. In his last 7 games, I'm looking at them, his batting average for July, he hit 250, right? For August, 261. In the last 30 games, 30 days, he's hit 261 batting average. In the last 15 days, 319. In the last 7 days, 375. That's improvement, Jim.
Yeah, and you really needed that from him. I think he needed it from him, and I can actually pinpoint the game. He hit a double to right center, and it cleared the bases, and ever since then, he has been on fire. I mean, it's been incredible. And one of the things, I saw these stats earlier before the game, and I'm watching the game, and Rhys Hoskins is up to bat. The Nationals have a right-handed pitcher up, and I'm like, right-handed pitcher, Rhys Hoskins, he's hitting 239 overall against right-handed pitching this year. I'm like, here comes a strikeout. Don't you know, on the next pitch, he knocks it out of the park. Home run. I said it out loud. My family was laughing at me because, of course, as I finished saying that sentence, he knocks the ball out of the park. I mean, Rhys Hoskins is hot, and you got to love it.
Yeah, and first of all, it makes sense why he's weak against righties, 239. As you said, he's 310 against lefties. He's a right-handed hitter. And, look, he had 6 home runs in the last 30 days. 4 of them have been in the last week. Let that sink in, viewers, listeners.
And let's add that 5th one today.
And, he's up to 7 this season. Excellent. Love to see it. And his RBIs have increased. 9 of his 18 RBIs have happened in the last 7 days. That's half of his RBIs out of a month span happened in the last week of that month. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, and hopefully, and like we said, if this continues on, you'll see a nice little run from them. I'm not expecting them to win the championship. I don't think they're expecting themselves to win the championship.
I just want a playoff team.
Exactly.
I want a good team, plays hard, swings the bats, pushes teams to 5 or 7 games.
Yeah, and
and wins a wild card play-in or something.
Yeah, and one of the greatest things about Rhys Hoskins is his eye. He has a great eye on the ball. He's walking like 2 or 3 times a game, it feels like. And he's on pace for 117 walks for a regular 162 game season. And I just think you have this guy that is getting his bat back. He has his on-base percentage up. This is a perfect type of stat level player that you want. It's a perfect type of baseball player that you want when he's in his prime.
Yeah. And then before we close out today's show of Tony's Takes, let's talk about those surprising rankings that we saw. Tampa, they were at number 2 at the current time. The Yankees are now at 11 and accused Tampa of cheating, as you put in your notes. The Braves are at 5th in the league, and the Phillies are at 13th.
Yeah. The big accusations. I don't know if you've seen Garrett Cole has been making claims that Tampa is finding some sort of tell or something about his fastball, and they're just hitting massive home runs against the Yankees.
That's his problem.
Well, blaming others instead of blaming himself.
If they know your tell, then what's the problem?
Oh, well, he thinks that maybe that there's some sort
Sign
of thing
stealing.
like the Astros that went on.
He would know how to do that. He's from the Astros.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that the accusations might be a little misplaced, but at the same time, you're throwing 97 miles an hour. You don't expect to be crushed as often as he was in those.
Right. You're a Cy Young winner, one of the best baseball players in the league. Probably the best pitcher since Clayton Kershaw, I would say. Maybe Justin Verlander. But yeah, no, he's making up excuses. I don't care. I don't care.
They had a benches clearing incident.
I saw that.
Yeah. There's some tension there, especially in the AL East.
There always is. But with Boston playing so poorly, that's the issue. Jim, I think we've hit the end of the show. I think we've run out of material to talk about. Is there anything else you need to add before we wrap it up today?
Sign JT.
Oh, yeah. Don't let him walk. Don't let that turn into a Jimmy Butler situation. That's for sure.
Sign the players you need. That's all the Philadelphia teams have to do, and we'll be happy.
Yep. Amen to that, brother. Jim, thanks for being on today's show. Hopefully we make this a weekly thing. Are you up for it?
Yeah,
Are you down?
Yes, I'm down. I can't wait. I'm excited.
The live radio, it just does it for people. Just want to thank everyone for being on the show, for listening to us, for viewing us, and for people who are going to view this later who just come to the YouTube channel. Thanks for sticking around and listening to Tony's Takes. It's been an absolute pleasure on our inaugural first live episode since the radio waves at Radio 1851. Now we're on YouTube. Few housekeeping things. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell notification. That way you hear that Tony is going live with Jimmy D, the sausage guy, on YouTube. It is the best way to get notifications. If you don't want to do it there, go on Apple Podcasts. This show's could be on Apple Podcasts. If you only got to listen to a little bit of it and you need to listen to it on Apple Podcasts, go to Apple Podcasts, search Tony's Takes. It's spelled the same way that it is on our YouTube channel. It should pop right up. You leave a 5-star review, we read it live on the show. That's a guarantee from me, Tony. Go there, leave a 5-star review, and subscribe to it. That way you also get notifications on your phone, whether it be from YouTube or from Apple Podcasts. The mailbag was a little empty today. But if you want to get in the mailbag, you want to jump on and get on in here and jump on into the mailbag, go to email us at tonystakes.1851@gmail.com. Once again, that's tonystakes.1851@gmail.com. That's where you can jump into the mailbag, give us your hot takes. If you disagree with us from an episode, if you think something breaking just happened and you want to get your take in on the show, do it. It's for the better, and we'll read it out loud. And finally, follow us on Twitter at Tonys_takes. Once again, Twitter account is at Tonys_takes. Sorry for that, listeners. Other than that, thanks for listening to this week's episode of Tony's Takes. We will all see you next week right here on YouTube. Thanks for listening.
The premier sports talk radio, it's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.